4 months from now, the biggest sporting event on the planet is supposed to begin, the FIFA World Cup. And yet, it feels like nobody is talking about it. No anticipation, no buzz, no global excitement. If anything, the atmosphere around the 2026 World Cup feels strangely flat, almost like the tournament is happening in the background rather than being the center of the sporting universe. And the question is simple. Why? Because if you go back and compare this to previous World Cups, especially something like Brazil 2014, the difference is staggering. In 2014, the hype was everywhere. There were constant adverts, debates about squads, discussions about Brazil hosting, predictions about Messi versus Neymar versus Ronaldo, iconic stadiums like the Maracanã being prepared. The entire football world felt like it was building towards something massive. But with the 2026 World Cup, the build-up feels quiet, messy, and in some ways, uncomfortable. And there are several reasons why. The first is the geopolitical climate surrounding this tournament. This World Cup is being hosted across 3 countries, the United States, Mexico and Canada, which on paper should have been a massive celebration of football across North America. But the reality has been far more complicated. Mexico in particular has been facing serious security concerns ahead of the tournament. Recent cartel violence in regions like Jalisco has raised major questions about safety around certain host cities. Authorities recently uncovered hundreds of bags containing human remains in mass graves around Guadalajara, a city that is scheduled to host World Cup matches. And after the death of cartel leader El Mencho, the country saw waves of retaliatory violence, including roadblocks, attacks on security forces, and widespread unrest. Even international sporting events in the region have already been cancelled due to security fears. A World Diving Cup event scheduled in Zapopan earlier this year was scrapped following the violent unrest. When things like that start happening only months before a World Cup, it inevitably affects the global perception of the tournament. Then there's the broader global political situation. Right now, the world is dealing with multiple international tensions, including escalating conflict involving Iran, the United States, and Israel. And that conflict has already begun to directly impact the tournament. Iran has qualified for the World Cup, but their participation has suddenly become uncertain because of the geopolitical situation and potential travel restrictions for Iranian players and fans entering the United States. So now you have a situation where one of the qualified teams might not even be able to participate. That's not exactly the type of headline that builds excitement for a global football tournament. And then there's the logistical chaos surrounding the tournament itself. The 2026 World Cup is the first ever to feature 48 teams and 104 matches, making it the largest tournament in football history. But instead of feeling bigger and more exciting, it almost feels bloated. Matches will be spread across 3 countries and dozens of cities, meaning the tournament loses some of the atmosphere that traditionally defines a World Cup. Historically, World Cups feel like a month-long festival in a single country. South Africa in 2010, Brazil in 2014, Russia in 2018, even Qatar in 2022, despite all its controversy, felt concentrated. Fans were all in the same place. Cities were packed with supporters. The whole country lived and breathed football. But the 2026 tournament is so geographically spread out that it risks feeling more like a series of disconnected events rather than one unified festival. And even the host cities themselves are struggling to organize things. Some American cities are already scaling back fan festivals due to budget issues and security costs. Local governments have complained that hosting matches is becoming financially risky, with security bills running into millions of dollars. In one case, a town hosting matches at Gillette Stadium even refused to approve the event until someone agreed to cover an $8 million security bill. That's not exactly the kind of smooth preparation you expect from the biggest sporting event in the world. Then there's the ticket situation. While FIFA claims the tournament is sold out, many tickets are reportedly costing over $1,000, making it extremely expensive for average fans to attend. That inevitably kills some of the organic fan culture that usually builds around World Cups. And finally, there's the state of football itself. International football simply doesn't carry the same cultural weight that it once did. Club football now dominates the calendar. The Champions League feels bigger than ever. Players are exhausted after 60-game club seasons, and international breaks often feel like interruptions rather than major events. The World Cup used to feel like the moment where the entire football world stopped. Now it feels like another tournament squeezed into an already overcrowded schedule. So when you combine all of that, geopolitical tensions, security concerns, logistical issues, bloated tournament formats, and the changing culture of football, it's not surprising that the build-up to the 2026 World Cup feels different, much quieter, much flatter. But of course, Once the tournament actually begins, everything could change. World Cups have a way of creating magic once the football starts. New stars emerge, iconic moments happen, and suddenly the entire world is watching again. But right now, with just 4 months to go, the 2026 World Cup doesn't feel like the biggest event in sport. It feels like a tournament that hasn't quite captured the world's imagination yet, and that's something FIFA will be hoping changes very quickly.